Come on. I got them the instruction in the dressing room. I want a clean fight. Touch glove. Good luck.
All right, the question. We start with Andre Dirrell. Can he keep his composure fighting on the big stage? Can he execute in this hostile environment? But the biggest question is, how will he react if he gets hurt? And for the champion, Carl Froch. Can he handle the speed and accurate punching of a sharpshooter like Dirrell? And can he take away Dirrell's confidence by keeping the pressure on him and making Dirrell uncomfortable? And we begin.
This fight, we should mention, is being contested in a 20-by-20 ring. All of the Super 6 fights will be contested in the same size ring. And, of course, for Dirrell, size of ring is important because he presumably wants to move and use all of this ring.
Carl Froch keeping that left hand low. Dirrell also. Dirrell, a sharp, lightning quick puncher with Roy Jones type speed. But he finishes off low quite often, and sometimes he'll even pull straight back with his chin up. And at this level, it could really cost him.
We note that Dirrell starts out as a right-hander. Of course, he likes to switch back and forth a lot, but right now he starts to fight as a righty. And Froch told us he thought that was the weakest side of Dirrell and that he could pick him apart as a righty.
Dirrell telling us that he will fight right-handed most of this fight, as you mentioned, Al.
The Froch jab has not been seen yet. There it is.
Carl Froch telling us that he wants to take Dirrell into deep water. He thinks that jet lag will set in around 5 or 6, and that's when he can really go to work. Froch missing with the left hook. He also told us he wants to keep that right hand right under his chin to block and smother the Dirrell jab.
Dirrell is talking to Carl Froch. That's an interesting ploy, Antonio, for a young fighter in this atmosphere.
That just lets you know his confidence. You know, he's really confident that he's here to take care of business tonight. What's obvious to me is the just difference in hand speed. You can tell it's night and day.
Both fighters taking their time early on. Dirrell very relaxed. Now he switches over to southpaw. Froch very familiar fighting southpaws. He beat Jean Pascal to take the title. Pascal, a Canadian, now the light heavyweight champion.
We saw the counterpunching of Dirrell a moment ago, and he did touch Froch on the way in. He's going to have to do that on a regular basis during the course of this fight.
There's that stiff jab. Really quick. Dirrell has been doing a much better job sitting down on his punches his last couple of fights. And that's the end of the first round.
The keys to this fight, very interesting for both men. For Carl Froch, he's got to double the jab. This is a sequence he should continue throughout the fight. First, double the jab, which pushes Dirrell to the rope, where he tends to gravitate anyway. And then Froch can land the right hand. This could be a fight changer for him. For Andre Dirrell, he can't switch constantly from righty to left. He has to do it with purpose, as he did in round 1. He cannot be on the ropes. He's got to keep this fight in the center of the ring. He did that effectively in round 1. He's got to throw combinations, but then get out, not stay there, and brawl with Froch.
Trent FM Arena in Nottingham, England. 2.5 hours north of London. Carl Froch, the champion, versus Andre Dirrell, the challenger. Dirrell, 25 years old, Froch, 32. Carl Froch in the black trunks, Dirrell in the green. Froch comes into this fight after rallying from a third round knockdown to Jermaine Taylor to knock him out in the 12th round in his WBC super middleweight title defense, the first defense, back on April 25th in Connecticut.
Froch, there's the Froch jab. He said this is these first few rounds, as we pointed out, we're going to be more tactical. But he said he does not want to get himself in a big hole and be digging out from a hole in round 6 or 7. But when he does use the jab, he does push Dirrell back, and that's an important weapon for him. And the battle of the jabs now very even, really.
Yes, they are. I saw in the first round where Froch had more success when Dirrell switched to southpaw. So we'll keep an eye on that and to see how he does.
Andre Dirrell, southpaw now, forcing Carl Froch to lead. Taking his time. He wants to stay off the ropes and fight this fight right in the middle of the ring.
Now, Froch is undefeated against left-handers. He's 3-0 and does not feel that's an issue for him. We'll see.
Dirrell keeping very good distance. Double left hook connects.
Good countering by Andre Dirrell. That is so uncharacteristic of Froch to lead off with a wild left hook. That is, although that's a punch you can normally hit Dirrell with, that was oddly thrown for Froch.
Froch with the right hand to the body. Two very patient fighters. Dirrell looks very composed, Antonio, to be on such a grand stage.
Yes, he does. But, you know, the fight hadn't got started yet. Both of the fighters are still trying to fill each other out before they settle in, and we'll see more action.
You know, it's ironic. We talked about the idea of Dirrell squaring himself up to Froch. It's been Froch who has actually ended up making himself a more available target at certain points to Dirrell when he misses with those wild punches.
Froch having a problem getting close. He's trying to get in punching range. Double left jab. Landing for Dirrell. He's got feline quickness. Round 2, scheduled for 12.
We talked about the fact that Carl Froch is missing and putting himself at risk to counter-punching by Andre Dirrell. And here's a perfect example. Leading off with that left hook, being countered.
In boxing, it's an old saying, when you make your opponent miss, you got to make him pay. And those hooks did make him pay.
Let's listen into the corner of Andre Dirrell. His grandfather, Leon Lawson, is his trainer.
Great. Just warming up. Don't get over anxious. Don't let it slow around. Take it as it comes. Deep breath, deep breath, deep breath. Do your thing. Here.
Bonus 10 seconds.
Andre Dirrell, a 3-1 underdog, and from what I understand, there are a lot of businessmen in Flint, Michigan, putting a lot of money on this young man. Hector Afu is your referee of Panama.
That was Carl Froch saying, welcome to England, to Andre Dirrell.
Andre Dirrell with a lot of conversation, as you mentioned, Al, for Carl Froch. He switches to southpaw. What do you think he may be saying, Antonio?
I have no idea. I mean, I think he's fighting very good from the conventional stance and haven't seen much from the southpaw stance, but we'll see. Maybe he has a plan.
Well, the one thing he's doing with the switching is he's not doing it in such a way that gets caught in between, and that was the danger for Dirrell. There's the Froch jab, and that's so important.